The temperature controlled vacuum mount is mounted atop the motorised XY stage in this manner. The four legs of the mount aligned with four holes in the plate on which it sits in such a manner that the four M3 screws provided can pass from underneath and screw into tapped holes in the four legs of the mount. The temperature controlled vacuum mount here in this PVE 300XY is the same as that in the standard PVE 300 model. The only difference that here, whilst one mounts atop the motorised XY stages, in the standard PVE 300 model, the temperature controlled vacuum mount sits directly on the base of the PVE 300 chamber. Indeed, here the PVE 300 chamber is extended to account for the height of the motorised XY stages. The temperature controlled vacuum mount should be connected through the PVE 300 connection panels to the VC TE20 unit through four connections. Firstly, the control of the cooler, the penalty cooler, is provided through a hardwired cable, which is connectorized, that is passed through the connections panel and then should be held in place from the outside using a plastic nut provided. The remaining three connections are all provided using the short pieces of silicon pipe provided. One with a brass connector fitted we will consider later for the vacuum provision. The upper two ports in the connection panel are for the water circulation unit. The temperature controlled vacuum mount has been provided with a short piece of pipe to short circuit the two water inlet outlets, which we will replace with these longer pipes. So, with some tissue in place to avoid any spillage doing damage, I will swiftly remove the short circuited piece of pipe and fit the pipe to the PV connections panel. The lower brass connector on the connections panel is for the provision of a vacuum, and I connect that to an aperture to the top of the temperature controlled vacuum mount. We finally make the connections to the VC TE20 unit. The cooler is provided through a 9-way connector, which one must locate in correct position before screwing the connector in place. The vacuum supply can be simply connected to the vacuum port, and for the water flow, again, the unit has been shipped with a short piece of pipe short-circuiting the two ports, which we shall swiftly remove and replace with the two pipes connecting to the temperature controlled vacuum mount in the PV 300 chamber, the orientation of which is not important. When using the VC TE20 for the first time after installation, it is of course essential to ensure that there is sufficient water in the cooling circuit. We will now proceed to top up the level with deionized water, which I have, for ease of pouring, decanted into a small bottle. It is of course prudent to have some tissue on hand in case of spillage. With the VC TE20 powered on and ensuring of course that the cooler is off, we will momentarily illuminate the water flow and top up the reservoir as required. So I will remove the cap to the reservoir, and you'll notice that I've also removed the detection electronics that was located above this unit previously for ease of pouring water in the reservoir. So I'll start off by filling the reservoir, because it's clear the level will reduce and powering on the water flow. And we will see the level will quickly go down as air in the pipe is replaced by water. And as we keep on, we will top up a little, perhaps move the pipes just to ensure that we have no air locks. And we can see water bubbles coming out from the bottom inlet. It's also worthy to remove the screws attaching the temperature controlled vacuum mount from the motorised XY stage and simply to move around a little to ensure that any pockets of air are dispelled. In a similar manner, we can gently rock the VCT20 to ensure that any airlocks be dispelled. Eventually one will encounter a minimum of air bubbles coming from the lower outlet, and we can see that from the surface disturbance of the water in the reservoir, which is sufficiently topped up, that the pump is indeed working and passing water through the circuit. We can then close the reservoir to ensure no contamination, and we can also look at the various inlets and fit the clips provided to ensure good connection of the pipes. There are 8 such clips for all connections of the water flow from the VCT20 through the 4 connections on the PV300 connections panel to the temperature controlled vacuum track.